I have to say, if you ordered this box, you're lucky because this is a good one. Sometimes these summertime flowers are a little bit more difficult. We always know spring is really lush and abundant, but this makes me very happy. This Lisianthus is plumped up. It's so fat and full. The phlox is great. These callas are beautiful. The hyacinth look magnificent. And then, of course, lovely, very playful clematis is gorgeous. So I'm going to start with clematis because they're closest here. And what you want to do is carefully cut off the rubber bands. And I'm just going to slice this. I don't want to pull these out of the plastic because I don't want to break anything, so I'm just going to slice this plastic off just like that. I'll cut off this bottom rubber band, or rather just pull it off. Now, before I start I need to untangle these because there's a lot of little florets. So I'm just going to get my hands in there like this and just kind of shake them out. This is a fabulous flower. I mean, clematis is, if anybody's grown in the garden, you know how kind of a pain in the butt it is to grow, but once it really takes off, it's so gratifying. And so to see 10 beautiful stems like this, if I had this plant in my garden, no way would I ever cut these out of the garden. So it's really a treat to have these. They have nice little foliage, these little bell-shaped flowers, this pretty purple color, a very thin stem. It doesn't need anything, but it does tend to be a bit brittle. So you want to be careful because you want to give it a support because there's a lot of weight at the top here. Then it has this kind of thin, brittle stem, so it can snap. So when you're cleaning these, choose a vessel or something that's a little taller so it gives it some support so it doesn't break over. Just give it another fresh cut. And I'm even gonna go a little bit lower because I want to support that. There you go. You get a few in and they can start to rest on each other. But the biggest part is just to detangle these. If you need to remove any broken leaves or broken flowers, do that at this point. And just continue to let them drink. So that's all you really need to do for the clematis. Next we have the Lisianthus, which is a really nice summertime flower. It's so full. This flower is so long lasting. You're gonna get at least a week out of this. It's a good one. Again, I'm slicing off the plastic. And I'm just going to go in here and just kind of loosen these up. These have plumped up nicely, but there are, it's nice if they package them with all of these leaves like that because they protect the flower and act as a packing material, but we want to take a lot of these kind of dead and slimy ones off. So Lisianthus, one stem, look at that. One stem has multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stems on it. So I'm going to just hold it firmly somewhere in the middle here and just take off these broken leaves. You can leave a few at the top, just as long as they're not damaged and they're still in good shape. Any flower that's broken, just remove it. You can expect a broken flower, a diseased flower here and there. It really happens. Our kind of rule of thumb is we expect maybe 10% damage. If you do get that, just remove it. It's par for the course. Give it a fresh cut and put it back in clean water until we're ready to arrange them. So I wouldn't take apart any of these individual florets, leave them all together on one stem. When we go to making our arrangements, we can kind of take them apart then. So that's pretty easy. That's a very lovely flower, long lasting, beautiful. The hyacinths, let me just get rid of this extra plastic. Okay, I have a little bit of a lower bowl for a hyacinth here because they are these are actually quite nice and sturdy, but this is going to continue to develop and it gets top heavy because it's a very full flower. This will continue to grow and it's a much softer stem, so it could start to fall over. So I want to have a lower bowl that will support them. Cleaning hyacinths, you just want to, this looks pretty good. You can take off some of these leaves. Try to leave as much of this as possible, this little base, because you see this brown area. The bulb is really right here. This is where it comes from, the bulb. If you take this off, your hyacinths will be fine, but it won't necessarily grow as big. Somehow leaving this little piece down here will have the hyacinth develop much, much bigger and fuller. So, at this point, if the leaf is damaged or gross, take it off, but otherwise I would just kind of leave these stalks just like this and just drop them in a few inches of water. I'm not even giving them a fresh cut. I'm more just kind of taking them apart to remove anything that's slimy or gross or broken and letting them just kind of continue to drink like this. Now, you can see how beautiful this is. You just mask that container full of these. You've got an arrangement right there. and these guys will continue to fill up. When we go to make our arrangement, we'll cut them closer. Now this one broke off, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of a fresh cut. Tuck that in deeper. But that's really all you need to do with hyacinths. So see, this whole thing kind of shattered. So I'm gonna just dispose of this, give this base a cut, and put it in there. So that's how we're gonna take care of the hyacinths. Next I have the phlox. Phlox is one of my favorite summer flowers. It doesn't look like much right now, but all of these little tiny individual blossoms are gonna open up, and it's a very summery, fresh, fluttery flower. I have it in my garden upstate. It's like, it attracts the butterflies and the dragonflies like crazy. And this particular variety actually has a little bit of fragrance to it, which is nice. So the stems and the leaves have plumped up nicely. I like to leave some of the top ones on. You can literally just take it and just strip it like that. Just strip it, set it to the side, remove anything broken. I'm gonna leave about, maybe the top third of my leaves on. When you get a few like that, just bring them down, give them a fresh cut, put them in the water, and they'll continue to open. And then lastly, we have our calla lilies. So these are nice and plump, good size heads. The color's really pretty. This kind of smoky, I don't know, what do we call that? Plum, aubergine color. You can see all these variations. It gets a little bit moodier and streaks with greens. So that's really, I think, lovely. And I love this color combination with the pinks and the lavenders. So I'm excited about this box. These flowers look really nice. Occasionally when you open up calla lilies like this, and this happens all the time, I don't necessarily see it here, but you'll get one that's just, no matter what, it's buried in there and it's just completely gross and slimy. It's sort of like when you get those little bags of miniature carrots, there's always one slimy one in there. If that happens, like say for instance, if this was like kind of slimy and mushy, you're gonna wanna wash all that, just rinse off all the rest of them, and then cut it above the slimed out area so it's nice and turgid, and put it in water. So calla lilies, you don't need to put them in a lot of water. I actually have this vase here which has too much water for them. So just, a couple of inches at the bottom, and you don't need to cut a lot off. Just trim it again. What's interesting with calla lilies is that while they don't develop more, they kind of like, this is all they're really gonna do. The stems, when they're in a few inches of water, they do this weird thing where they like split in 4 ways and they curl up, and it's really kind of fun looking. So if you have these calla lilies with your kids, maybe experiment and see what happens in a couple of days. It'll be like a little nest of snakes at the bottom of the vase. So I'm just gonna simply do that. Check for anything slimy, gross. They're all pretty nice and clean. And there you go. So I'm gonna keep cleaning all these flowers. At this point, like I said, there's no flower food in here. It's just about cool water. You're in a nice climate controlled area. Keep them out of the sun. They can continue to drink a little bit more at this point, or if you're ready to just start arranging, we'll get into that in the next video.